What happens when one of the most talked about women in the world sits down for what should be a simple interview and instead unleashes a storm of accusations that leaves an entire studio speechless? In just 35 seconds, a single comment would turn a routine appearance into an absolute disaster, ending with security escorting a guest off the set of one of daytime television's most beloved shows. This is the story of how Meghan Markle's appearance on The View went from a friendly chat to complete chaos. The morning started like any other at The View. The studio audience filled the seats, cameras were positioned, and the hosts took their places at the table. Sunny Hostin, known for her sharp legal mind and thoughtful questions, was prepared to have a respectful conversation. She had her notes ready, questions carefully written out, and a genuine interest in hearing what Meghan had to say. When Meghan walked onto the stage, the audience applauded. She smiled, waved, and took her seat next to Sunny. Everything seemed normal. The first few minutes went smoothly. They talked about the weather, the audience, small talk that made everyone comfortable. Then Sunny shifted into the actual interview. So Meghan, thank you so much for being here today. I want to start by asking about your recent projects. Can you tell us what you've been working on? Sunny asked with a warm smile. Meghan leaned back in her chair, a slight smile on her face. Well, Sunny, I've been working on several things, but honestly, I'm not sure the audience here would really understand the level of work I do. It's quite complex. The audience went quiet. Sunny's smile didn't fade, but her eyes showed a flicker of surprise. She continued professionally. I think our audience is pretty savvy. They'd love to hear about it, Sunny replied, keeping her tone friendly. Meghan waved her hand dismissively. Sure, but you know, when you've lived the life I've lived, when you've been where I've been, it's hard to explain to people who haven't experienced that level of importance. Sunny nodded slowly, choosing her words carefully. Well, many of our viewers have lived extraordinary lives too. Everyone has their own important story. Do they, though? Meghan interrupted, her voice rising slightly. I mean, really, Sunny. Have they been on the world stage like I have? Have they dealt with what I've dealt with? The other hosts at the table exchanged glances. The audience shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Sunny maintained her composure, years of legal training kicking in. I think what makes this show special is that we recognize everyone's experiences matter, Sunny said calmly. But let's talk about your work. You mentioned projects. Meghan sighed dramatically. Yes, projects. But see, this is what I'm talking about. People always want to focus on the work, but they don't want to acknowledge the struggle, the real struggle of someone like me. I'm happy to talk about whatever you'd like to discuss, Sunny offered, trying to redirect the conversation. Are you, though? Meghan challenged, leaning forward. Because it seems like you're trying to control the narrative here, just like everyone else has tried to control my narrative. Sunny's expression remained professional, but firm. Meghan, I'm just trying to have a conversation. That's what we do here. We talk with our guests. Talk with or talk at? Meghan shot back. Because from where I'm sitting, this feels a lot like an interrogation, the audience murmured. Sunny took a breath, clearly trying to de-escalate the situation. It's not an interrogation at all. These are standard questions we ask all our guests. I'm genuinely interested in what you have to say, Sunny explained patiently. Meghan laughed, but it wasn't a friendly laugh. It was sharp, cutting. Standard questions. Right. You know what, Sunny? I expected more from you. I really did. I thought you, of all people, would understand. Understand what exactly? Sunny asked, her voice steady but cautious. The pressure, the expectations, the way people treat you when you're different. When you're special, when you stand out, Meghan said, her voice getting louder with each word. Sunny nodded thoughtfully. I do understand pressure and expectations. Many people do, but I'm not sure what that has to do with our conversation today. Everything, Meghan exclaimed, throwing her hands up. It has everything to do with this conversation. Because you're sitting there asking me these questions, and you're not even acknowledging who I am, what I represent. I'm absolutely acknowledging who you are, Sunny replied calmly. You're my guest, and I'm treating you with respect. Respect? Meghan's voice dripped with sarcasm. This is respect? Asking me basic questions like, I'm just anyone? I'm not just anyone, Sunny. The tension in the studio was thick. The cameras kept rolling. The audience sat frozen, watching this unfold in real time. Sunny straightened in her chair. No one said you were just anyone, but every guest who sits at this table gets asked questions. That's the format of the show. Maybe the format needs to change, Meghan snapped. Maybe the format should recognize when someone of significance is sitting here. Everyone who comes on this show is significant, Sunny countered, her voice still calm, but with an edge of firmness. We've had presidents, activists, artists, authors. Everyone matters equally here. Meghan scoffed. Please, you can't actually believe that. Some people are simply more important than others. That's just reality. The audience gasped. Sunny's expression shifted from patient to serious. I don't believe that at all, Sunny said clearly. And I don't think that's a healthy way to view people. Of course you don't, Meghan said dismissively. You're stuck here at this table, asking questions someone else wrote for you. You don't know what it's like to actually matter on a global scale. The other host started to speak up, but Sunny raised her hand gently, signaling she could handle this. Meghan, I've had a successful legal career and now a successful broadcasting career. I'm proud of my work. But this isn't about me. You came here as a guest, Sunny said, her voice firm but controlled. A guest who's being disrespected, Meghan interrupted. A guest who's being treated like she doesn't matter. You're being treated exactly how we treat everyone, Sunny explained, with respect and genuine interest. But you seem to want something different. I want recognition, Meghan declared. I want acknowledgement of who I am and what I've done. Sunny leaned forward slightly. We invited you here. We introduced you. We're giving you a platform to speak. What more do you want? I want you to stop pretending we're equals, Meghan shouted, standing up from her chair. The audience audibly gasped. The studio went completely silent, except for the hum of the cameras. Sunny remained seated, looking up at Meghan calmly. I never said we were equals. I said we're all significant in our own ways. That's different. Stop with your talk show psychology, Meghan snapped. You sit here every day, thinking you're so important, thinking you're making a difference, but you're just reading off a teleprompter. Actually, I'm not reading anything right now, Sunny said quietly, her voice steady. I'm responding to you in real time, trying to have a respectful conversation despite your insults. Insults? Meghan laughed harshly. You think that's an insult? You have no idea what a real insult is. You sit here in your comfortable studio with your comfortable job, and you think you understand struggle. Sunny stood up now, meeting Meghan eye to eye. I've never claimed to know your specific struggles, but I won't sit here and let you diminish my life or my career or the lives of our audience members. Then maybe I shouldn't be here at all, Meghan declared, crossing her arms. Maybe you're right, Sunny said calmly. If you can't have a respectful conversation, then maybe this isn't the right place for you today. Meghan's eyes widened in shock. Are you asking me to leave? I'm saying that this show is built on mutual respect, Sunny explained, between hosts and guests, between all of us and our audience. If you can't participate in that, then yes, perhaps it's best to end this now. Unbelievable, Meghan muttered. Absolutely unbelievable. Do you know who I am? Yes, Sunny said simply. You're someone who came on our show and chose to insult me, my colleagues, and our audience instead of having a conversation. I came here expecting to be treated like the important person I am, Meghan said, her voice shaking with anger. And I'm treating you like an adult who needs to behave respectfully, Sunny replied. That's what important people do. They show respect to others. Meghan grabbed her purse from beside her chair. I don't have to listen to this. You're right. You don't, Sunny agreed. And we don't have to provide you a platform to speak down to people. This is outrageous, Meghan hissed. You're going to regret this, Sunny. You're going to regret treating me this way. Sunny's expression didn't change. I won't regret standing up for basic dignity and respect. Meghan turned to the audience. You're all witnessing this, right? You see how I'm being treated. The audience sat silent. No one applauded. No one cheered. They just watched, stunned by what they were seeing. One of the producers approached from offstage, speaking quietly to Meghan. She jerked her arm away. Don't touch me, she snapped at the producer. I'm leaving on my own. That's probably best, Sunny said, sitting back down at the table. Meghan stared at her for a long moment. You think you've won something here. This isn't about winning, Sunny replied. This is about maintaining standards. Standards, Meghan repeated mockingly. Your standards are a joke. This whole show is a joke. The other hosts started to respond, but Sunny again gestured for them to let her handle it. If that's how you feel, then I'm definitely certain leaving is the right choice, Sunny said evenly. Meghan turned toward the exit, then spun back around. You know what your problem is, Sunny. You're intimidated by me. You can't handle someone who's actually lived a significant life sitting at your little table. Sunny shook her head slowly. I'm not intimidated. I'm disappointed. I had hoped we could have a meaningful conversation. But you seem more interested in proving your superiority than connecting with people. I don't need to connect with people like this, Meghan gestured broadly at the audience. I'm beyond this. Then go be beyond it somewhere else, Sunny said firmly, because here we value kindness and respect. Meghan's face flushed red. Fine. Fine. I'm out of here. She stormed toward the exit, her heels clicking loudly on the studio floor. The cameras followed her. The audience remained completely silent. At the door, Meghan turned one last time. You'll see. Everyone will see what happened here today. How I was mistreated. Sunny looked directly at her. The cameras caught everything. People can judge for themselves. Meghan opened her mouth to respond, then seemed to think better of it. She spun on her heel and walked out. The door closed behind her with a heavy thud. For several seconds, the studio remained silent. Then Sunny turned to the camera. Well, she said, taking a deep breath, that was unexpected. We're going to take a quick break. The audience erupted into applause. Not for Meghan, but for Sunny. For the way she handled herself. For the way she stood her ground without losing her composure. For the way she defended the dignity of everyone in that room. As the show cut to commercial, the other hosts gathered around Sunny, offering support. She smiled at them, still processing what had just happened. In all her years of broadcasting, in all her years of law, Sunny had dealt with difficult people. But this was different. This was someone who came onto a show expecting to be worshipped rather than interviewed. Someone who couldn't see past their own sense of importance to have a real human conversation. When the show came back from commercial, Sunny addressed what happened directly. We want to apologize to our audience, both here in the studio and watching at home, she began. That's not the kind of conversation we like to have here. We always hope our guests will engage respectfully. The audience applauded again. But, Sunny continued, it's important to remember that everyone deserves respect, not because of their title, or their status, or their fame, but because they're human beings. And when someone can't extend that basic courtesy to others, well, you saw what happens. More applause filled the studio. We're going to move on now, Sunny said, her smile returning. We have wonderful guests coming up who actually want to have conversations with us. The show continued. The other segments went smoothly. But everyone knew that this episode would be remembered for what happened in those intense minutes. The moment when a host stood up for basic decency against someone who thought their status put them above respectful behavior. Backstage, producers were already dealing with the aftermath. Meghan's team was making calls, trying to control the narrative. But the cameras had captured everything. Every insult, every dismissive gesture, every moment of entitlement. The audience members filed out of the studio, buzzing with excitement. They had witnessed something extraordinary, not a celebrity meltdown for entertainment's sake, but a real moment of principle. A moment where someone in the media stood up and said that fame doesn't excuse rudeness. Social media would explode within minutes. The clips would spread everywhere. But none of that mattered in the moment. What mattered was that Sunny Hostin had maintained her integrity. She had treated her guest with respect, even when that respect wasn't returned. And when it became clear that the conversation couldn't continue productively, she had made the difficult but necessary decision to end it. The other hosts praised Sunny during the commercial breaks. They told her she handled it perfectly, that she was professional, calm, and firm, that she had done exactly what needed to be done. Sunny appreciated their support, but she felt no triumph. She felt sad that it had come to that. Sad that someone couldn't simply sit and talk like a regular person. Sad that status and fame had inflated someone's ego to the point where basic kindness seemed beneath them. But she also felt proud. Proud that she had stood her ground. Proud that she had defended the audience and her colleagues. Proud that she had shown that no amount of fame or status gives someone the right to treat others poorly. As the show wrapped for the day, Sunny reflected on what had happened. She had done hundreds of interviews, talked to countless celebrities, politicians, and public figures. Most were lovely. Some were difficult. But this was unique. This was someone who had walked into the studio expecting to be treated like royalty, and instead was treated like a guest. A respected guest, but a guest nonetheless. Someone who would be asked questions, expected to engage in dialogue, and held to the same standards as everyone else. And when those expectations weren't met, when basic respect couldn't be maintained, the natural consequence followed. The interview ended. The guest left. The show moved on. In the end, that's what made Sunny's handling of the situation so powerful. She didn't yell. She didn't insult. She didn't stoop to pettiness. She simply maintained her standards and let the chips fall where they may. The audience had seen a masterclass in professionalism, in how to handle a difficult situation with grace and firmness, in how to stand up for what's right without losing your cool. As Sunny gathered her things and prepared to leave the studio, she smiled. Not because of what happened, but because she knew she had done the right thing. She had protected the integrity of her show and the dignity of everyone involved. And sometimes that's all you can do. Stand up for what's right, maintain your principles, and let your actions speak for themselves. The cameras had captured it all. The words, the expressions, the tension, the resolution. And people watching would draw their own conclusions. But Sunny wasn't worried about that. She knew the truth of what had happened. A guest had come expecting special treatment, had demanded recognition of their importance, had insulted everyone around them when that recognition didn't come in the form they wanted, and had faced the natural consequence of that behavior. It wasn't about punishment. It wasn't about revenge. It was simply about maintaining a standard that said everyone matters. Everyone deserves respect. And no one, regardless of their status, gets to treat others as lesser. That message resonated throughout the studio as the crew packed up for the day. It would resonate with audiences who watched the clip, and it would serve as a reminder that true importance isn't about demanding recognition. It's about earning respect through how you treat others. Sunny had earned that respect today, not by being harsh or cruel, but by being firm and fair, by refusing to accept unacceptable behavior, by standing up for simple human decency. And that, more than any viral moment or dramatic exit, was what people would remember. The host who remained calm in chaos. The professional who never lost her composure. The person who proved that you can be kind without being a pushover, firm without being mean, and principled without being rigid. The View had seen many memorable moments over the years, but this one would stand out, not because of the celebrity involved, but because of the values it represented. The idea that respect is non-negotiable, that everyone deserves dignity, that fame doesn't exempt you from basic courtesy. These weren't complicated concepts. They were simple, fundamental principles of human interaction. But in a world where celebrity often seems to excuse bad behavior, seeing those principles upheld was powerful. Sunny had done more than end an interview. She had made a statement, not through grand declarations or dramatic gestures, but through quiet consistency, through refusing to compromise on what she knew was right. And as the studio lights dimmed and the day came to a close, that message lingered. A reminder that sometimes the most important thing you can do is simply maintain your standards. Treat people with respect and expect the same in return, no matter who they are, no matter what they've done, no matter how important they think they are. Because at the end of the day, we're all just people, and we all deserve to be treated with basic human dignity and respect.